County Executive Brenton Davis is with us here. 421. Our phone number 814-679-1080. All righty, let's stay on this jobs and workforce thing because, one of the big conversations that we have right now, population loss. And again, you're a bit younger than I am, but the narrative always was, we need more jobs. We need more jobs. And it's very true. We need the kind of family-sustaining great jobs to keep our economy going. The issue is, though, that there is a lot of job openings. If you look at Northwest Job Connect, it ranges between, 1,100 and 2,000 jobs available in Erie County. But we need workers. And we need skilled workers. And it's like, how do you navigate all that?
Well, I think a part of it, obviously my master's is in economics, but, you look at the basic parts of an economy, right? It's cyclical. It comes in ebbs and flows. It's like the stock market. It goes up, it comes down, supply and demand, like anything. Yeah. So just because you have an economy that's strong in, say, 1960, doesn't mean that it's going to be on a trajectory to forever. Markets correct, markets change, tariffs. We saw a lot, in the heyday of the 1960s where you could walk in one place, get a job, quit by noon, go to another place down here in 12th Street. And then you look at like the 80s and 90s, even in county government, you almost had to somebody had to die or retire to get into county government. And now we have boatloads of openings, even in county government, where you used to have to almost kill somebody.
And you cut 70 slots.
We cut 74 in last year's budget. It's just because a lot of them were low paying. We didn't need them. It's modernizing government and respecting the taxpayers' money, doing more with less where you can. And that way, when you go to the taxpayers and say, look, I need this position, they know you're not kidding. You know what I mean? It's not just pork barreling like a job for a crony of the past, like it's typically been in county government for decades. But really, the economy, there's no guarantee. We see a resurgence here. You see the reversing of onshoring. We just had some major delegations. At this time, it was a domestic delegation here today. I spent some time with some folks looking at the old hammer mill lots, down where IRG was supposed to be when that went defunct. Hero BX, working with that receiver in Pittsburgh that has control of the biodiesel plant. I spend significant time working with those folks. There's 4 or 5 companies looking at that actively right now. And, but at the end of the day, it's the ebbs and flows. I ran on it. Our kids and grandkids are leaving.
When these folks are coming and kicking the tires, are they asking about, hey, I'm going to need 50, 70, 150 people?
So they're not even going to come here. Nobody just comes here and kicks tires. So let's face it, that's in real business, time is money. It's an airline, serious executives that their time is valuable. They're not going to come just to kick tires. In order to get somebody to come here, it's not like Aunt Susie coming to visit the summer cottage and just checks out the roadside stand and a few lots while she's here.
Right.
This isn't, even though that's how GE got here.
Right.
But, those days are gone.
Yeah.
There's a lot of pre-qualifying work, a lot of documents, a lot of discussions, Teams meetings, phone calls, just a lot of documents, site plans, looking at what their needs are, workforce assessments, supply line evaluations. We work a lot with like Jim Berlin and Logistics Plus and a lot of, heck, even competitors at times of some of these plastics companies to say, hey, look, we don't mind. What's good for Erie is good for us. So, it's us really just doing a complete analysis and a complete workup for this company. That way they already know that they're 85% of the way there when they come and look at a lot. And we're showing them what specifically meets their needs based on power, water, gas, parking, stormwater, site management in terms of what their site plan, whether it works on that layout or whether it doesn't, any constraints, access to port, rail, transportation, interstate, the airport. what the local demographics are, the quality of the schools. I mean, they look at a lot of different things. So I mean, when folks come to visit, it's not just to kick the tires. I mean, for us to get them here, and we have consistently got major investors to come here every single week, sometimes multiple in a week, up to 6 in 1 week. We had come here since we came to Select USA. The first year we went, we only had, I think, like 6 come that following year in 6 months. Our economic development department, we've just gotten very aggressive and figured out what it is that makes them want to strike while the iron's hot, to really turn up the pressure. And I set the table, and I have my staff drive the bus. And we're in constant communication with these folks and really making it easy to invest. It's like a proactive realtor. If somebody says, "Hey, this works for you," and just, "Hey, here's 3 houses that meet all your requirements. Let's go look at them," as opposed to, "Here's a website we have. There's 14,000 in Erie County. Just pick something out." Right. They're not going to do that work.
Just to press it though, are they finding that if they build it, they will be able to attract the workers with the proper skill sets? I'm not saying that they don't have to do some training. Again, I always go ballistic when people say, "Well, you gotta know our version of CAD software, or else we're not even going to look at your resume."
So I mean, that's not even. I mean, so I'll tell you what. I would say 90% of the time, what I'm finding with these folks is that they have a very specific skill set. They might say, "Hey, I need 20% of my staff that's going to come from one of our locations." I mean,
they're bringing in some
and this
folks.
is the brain trust, right? I mean, they're not just going to hire Jimmy off the street and go, "Well, you're the plant manager in Erie, like you know nothing." I mean, they're bringing in their top talent to set it up. It's generally oftentimes a family member. It's somebody well versed in the business. They come in, they set it up, and they say like 20% upper management, and there'll be room to hire local talent, middle management, or even upper management, to help plug them into the local supply chains, things of that nature, and to have a voice on the ground. But most of that meat and potatoes, where the real jobs are created in the production engine of the company, they're like, "Look, we don't need you." Like, there might be specific things like, we need X amount of engineers, we need X amount of people with, CAD experience, or whatever it is, machining, whatever it is. Well, they look at Penn State, they look at Gannon, they look at the products that we're churning out. And when we show them IHAC, we show them the Center for Manufacturing Excellence and Knowledge Park and everything, like, that's generally our trifecta tour that just knocks it down. They're like, "We've never seen anything like this." And then you add in the flexibility of the community college, the accessibility of myself as a chief elected official to say, "Hey, look, you're not going to go to King County in Seattle and get Dow Constantine's attention as their county executive and say, 'Well, yeah, if you invest in Seattle, I'm going to personally take you around.'" He doesn't care whether you're there or not. And I think that is one of the aspects where I'm like, "Look, not only am I here, here's my cell phone number. Whatever you need, let's remove the barriers, let's figure it out." But also the things like the allied health that you just saw, we can do that for their company too.
We're going to keep going here with jobs and workforce and the opportunities. The county executive is with us, Brenton Davis, back after the news. Talk Erie and the Joel Natale Show, live from our Kingdom Financial Group studio here at 5th and State. We're also live on YouTube and Facebook, having the crucial conversations that Erie needs. And once a month, the county executive, Brenton Davis, joins us here from the Erie County Courthouse. And tell you what, that Canadian wildfire stuff is getting to my eyes and throat.
It's got to be mine too. Like I'm seeing you sneezing, your eyes feel a little puffy.
It's crazy.
I might call Trudeau up and we'll start those fans and send it back to him.
There you go.
I guess he's not there anymore.
Hey, I got a text here. Can we get an update on the Green Shingle Industrial Park? Do you know what's going on there? Yeah.
Yes, like anything. Obviously you've got environmental stuff. The government has to do site plans, stormwater. There's just a whole plethora of things. We've got a boatload of folks that have expressed interest in that.
What is that? That's 200 acres? 150?
It's like 150.
Okay, gotcha.
But looking at the site plans, we should be able to start moving some ground. But like anything with the government, you got to cross all your T's, dot all your I's.
Yeah. The key there is water, isn't it?
And that's a major thing. But you want to do that in tandem. So we're working with Craig. I had him on my show early one morning, but being able to get the water out there is key. Mm-hmm. And we want to be able to do that in tandem, get the water moving. We've looked at ways of reducing the water costs because they were estimated at like 2.5 years ago, and then recently it was estimated at like 7 or 8 million. That just makes it just not feasible. But we're able to work with Craig and figure out how we could make some investments, maybe resize some things, do some different stuff, and drive those costs down to make it to where the Erie Water Works could equitably do that. And I think we're kind of getting to the point where we can do that. But, you want to start moving the water out there in tandem with breaking ground. That way, it's kind of the perfect marriage where the companies come in, we developed it, we sell the land, they can build their shell, start putting the infrastructure in the ground. And then, hey, when they're kind of close to coming online, tap into the water, tap into the sewer, and off to the races you go.
I ran into you down in Pittsburgh for that. That must have been after you had your event here. We were down in Pittsburgh at the Energy and Innovation Summit by Senator McCormick, and there's a lot of chatting. First Energy announced that they're going to be making investments in 57 counties or whatever. I'm sure Erie's part of that.
They have no choice.
Well, exactly, But it occurs to me, as we're talking about water and data, what do you think? How do you think this whole data thing's going to play out here in Erie County?
Well, it's like anything. It's like the new currency, So, data is the new currency. Look at everything. Our cell phones, smartphones, tablets. Everything. It's all driven in data. Mm-hmm. Social media and AI and all these different things that they're looking to do. You got to look a little bit into the magic 8-ball, right? And kind of predict what does the future hold? And to me, talking to a lot of these energy experts and a lot of the different things is the concerns that you have is, one, we have an outdated grid in a lot of places.
Oh, yeah.
So you look at all the issues that took place downtown here, when John Persinger and the EDDC, and we had transformer fires and all these different things. There's all these outdated infrastructure. So, one, updating the grid to make it safe and to make it to where we can get to capacity to attract these things. But also you have to look at not only market capacity, but how that affects the consumers at home. Obviously we're on PJM. That's our local grid. And then you have suppliers and distributors and all these different costs that add up to your electric bill. Part of what you pay for is electricity. The other part is distribution. It's the poles, it's the power lines, it's the linemen, it's the labor, and the trucks and all the preparation to do those things and the line clearance to maintain it. And, but all those different costs, you look into the future and you think what this could do if big data moves in. And I'm very mindful of this. If you move in too much, now you've got these large consumers of massive power hogging up capacity all over and that's the point of President Trump and Senator McCormick and what they did with the $93 billion in Pittsburgh is firing up these old nuclear plants, looking at coal, looking at hydropower, looking at all these different avenues to help increase that and expand that capacity. Mm-hmm. You think about it as You know, if you and I are sitting at home enjoying a football game and we have a extra large pizza between the two of us, we get done eating, we're completely full, and there might be 2 slices left, right? I mean, you and I, we like to eat. Maybe there won't be any, but we'll just say in theory there's only 2 slices left. But imagine there's a knock on the door, and now it's Shaney. Well, now those 2 slices are gone, and maybe you and I didn't eat as well. Well, imagine there's another knock on the door, and there's a whole football team. Like, that extra large pizza is now consumed, and nobody really had their demand met in terms of, and that's kind of much like the market capacity for electricity. So what we're worried about happening is these data centers buying up the capacity ahead of time, guaranteeing themselves the power, but then think about Grandma and Grandpa Smith sitting at home on rural electric that's dependent on that capacity. Well, now they're going to pay either boatloads, or you talk about, like in some places, you have the rolling blackouts where sometimes you have power, sometimes you don't. And I mean,
that's why it sounds like some communities are saying, hey, we don't want the data centers.
But I mean, and to me, it's a balance.
Okay.
It's 100% a balance because, I mean, one, they utilize data or utilize a lot of power, you know, depending on what you do. And then the other thing is they don't create a ton of jobs other than the construction jobs and maybe the 10 jobs they create to maintain it. And it takes a ton of cooling, which takes water, which takes, again, power. So, I mean, you look at all these different things, but you've got to think about it as almost like a digital bank. If you have one of them, the innovation jobs that surround that. So you've got to think about that like a spoke on a wheel. And this is why it comes back to responsible development. Like, you've really got to think about, you know, you don't not want to have a town without a hospital. Or back in the TVA, you don't not want to be a town that doesn't have an electrical substation. You know, it's all these different things that you got to think about. What are the future ramifications? And I think that's the important part of, you know, my responsibility as county executive is really thinking, not in terms of this year. I mean, you got to, of course, it snows. You got to handle the disaster.
Right.
You know, COVID, measles, whatever. You've got to handle those things as they pop up. But you need to steer the community and prepare the community and our economy and our workforce and our schools and our residents and our housing stock and all these different things simultaneously for the future that you're trying to build, and do it without missing a mark. You know, I mean, otherwise you're building a bridge to nowhere.
Yeah. Let's pivot and talk about, you know, county business and so on. You're 7 weeks from having to present a budget. Can you believe it already? Jeez.
Makes no... You know, I mean, to me, it's...
But I mean, I feel like the budget has been in the news since last October 1st.
Well, I mean, for really 2 years.
Yeah,
you know,
sure.
But I mean, to me, I think it's great that people are finally paying attention. You know, I mean, I can't remember prior to really getting involved in politics, you know, like what the deals were with the, you know, say DeVecchio administration or, you know, other than COVID during the Dahlkemper administration. I mean, county government was kind of just business as usual. It was that managed decline prior, you know. So, I mean, these budgets, a lot of this, like we talked about, it's manufactured chaos. I mean, it's things that we see on the federal level. You know, the only reason most folks pay attention now to the county budget is this manufactured chaos. It's things like, you know, the unnecessary lawsuits waged by county council, you know, trying to unlawfully raise people's taxes when we don't need it. You know, I want people to pay attention to that stuff, because now when I'm calling that there's flags on the play and saying, hey, look, these people have their hands in your money, and I'm going to say no, I want everybody to see it. I want them to know. When we pull back that curtain of laws, I want them to see what the truth and reality of their county government is. And I think that makes a lot of folks nervous, because for so long the status quo has been able to get away with it. Now those days are over.
Talk about, you know, the back and forth, your solicitor versus the council solicitor. Is there any resolution, any clarity coming out of that back and forth right now?
Well, I mean, to me, there is no back and forth. So, I mean, think about this. And you know, I mean, the Times News asked me about this the other day in a candidate profile. And I said, think about this. You know, folks cry about transparency. That, you know, on the 4 Democrats on council, even our chairman talks about, well, they're not transparent. They don't talk to us. They don't do this. They don't do that. Well, keep in mind who sued who. You've got these Democrats downstairs that, without trying to compromise, immediately went to a lawsuit. So imagine if you and I are neighbors and we get into a conflict over a fence. Instead of me saying, hey, Joel, like, I think your fence is 6 inches or a foot over into mine, or hey, that tree was my wife's. We planted it X, Y, and Z, and you're over it. Now it's on your side. Can we find a resolution? Well, instead of doing that, I just cuss at you and then go hire a lawyer. Well, what is legal 101? I mean, to the layperson, as soon as somebody lawyers up, you what?
Yeah,
you're done talking.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean that's the best legal advice any attorney's going to give you. As soon as you get legal notice, quit talking to those people. You know what I mean? Because no good comes from that. You got to let the system play it out. And they chose to take it there. They chose to waste taxpayer money. I didn't bring any of these lawsuits. And keep in mind, what are they suing for? More taxes. They want to raise taxes in a year where we return $4 million surplus to the budget. So clearly we don't need more money. I mean, I don't know what that was. That doesn't compute. It's things like denying Erie County residents $2.5 million that I wrote into the budget for ambulances. When you can't get an ambulance 40% of the time when and where you need it, who in their right mind says, no, I don't want the people of Erie County to have an ambulance? When you're saying you won't fund scholarships to train paramedics and EMTs, when you're saying you won't fund wages, you won't fund ambulances to replace the ones that are breaking down alongside the roads here, that to me is playing politics with people's lives.
But to be fair, they hold the purse. The legislature holds the purse. So it's on them.
100%. But here's the difference, and this is where we can use the parallel of what's going on in the federal level at Texas.
Okay.
It's the same failed playbook of the Texas Democrats, right? And I'm not arguing the gerrymandering or when and where. I'm just saying strictly the tactics to avoid a parliamentary procedure is what they're doing. This is the same thing that these 4 Democrats did on council. They voted on the budget that I sent downstairs for the last 2 years. Anything they didn't have the 5 votes to override my veto. So it comes back upstairs. I veto it, and instead of 4 votes to pass, now they need 5 to say, forget you, county executive. We hold the purse strings. Our supermajority rules. It carries. Well, they bypass that by saying, hey, let's vote on the things we know we can get the 5 votes, and then strike these other ones from the agenda because we can't get the votes. That is not how democracy works, and the Home Rule Charter is clear. And this is why I'm willing to take this as far as it needs to go, because right is right, and the future generations in our government rely upon this. Having that veto, if you're able to circumnavigate it, what is the point? You circumnavigate checks and balances. That's like me just saying, hey, I'm just not going to send stuff downstairs anymore. I'm going to spend money without having a budget.
Wow.
I can't skip that. So how can you just create parliamentary procedures? It's never been done before. It's not how it's done. The Home Rule Charter is clear. You must have majority plus 1, which is 5 votes to override a veto. If you fail to take action, so when they struck it from the agenda, they failed to take action. And it's very clear. Our laws are clear. It says if county council fails to take action or the executive on any matter within 10 days or 20 days for certain things, it becomes law. So when they struck that from the agenda and they said, hey, we're not voting on this, that's basically like forfeiting. You're forfeiting on the field. So I put that stuff in, and now they want to sue over it. And I was willing to work with them.
Yeah.
And look, if you want to deny the people of Erie County $2.5 million for life-saving services, I'm of the personal opinion that you have no business holding public office. I mean, if you want to forfeit your office, because if you're willing to play politics to the point where you won't fund our loved ones getting an ambulance, and that is fact and reality, there's no dispute. I'll challenge any member of county council to come on here and debate that. Explain why you won't fund ambulances for $2.5 million. That's absolute lunacy.
They have sent it, and they said that the townships don't want it.
That's complete and utter crap. The townships don't want it. What township? You show me a township supervisor that says, no, I don't want those. Find me one. I know them all. We work with them every single day, and I've never had a township supervisor come up to me and say, no, I don't want ambulance funding. Well, just because you say it doesn't make it true.
Right.
You know what I mean? Just because you say it doesn't make it true. And I think the gig is up for these folks. You can sit there and you can grandstand. You can say whatever you want to the media. You can hide behind an attorney that plays more politics than law. But at the end of the day, the Commonwealth Court, I am confident, is going to ring true, and they're going to overturn it. We just saw it when people say, like, oh, my goodness. I mean, there was just recently a Commonwealth Court decision that overturned a local judge's decision here just a week ago. I mean, this is happening. This is happening. And, I mean, to me, I'm confident when we see this in Commonwealth Court by the end of this year, I mean, that $2.5 million is going to flow.
Yeah, and then we'll get some clarity here. Maybe this'll work out. I've just got about 3 minutes left with the county executive. And what do you think? I mean, because last year you had the gap funding and so on, but now like ARP is over, and so does that put us in a dilemma as far as investment kind of money, chunky money?
I mean, keep in mind, I mean, if we wouldn't have done some of the silly stuff this council did to take away from that municipal gap fund, we'd have had $6 million more. I mean, we turned $6 million into $43 million. I mean, imagine if I could have turned $12 million into $90 or $100 million. I mean, that was the goal, but again, I mean, the council has its own will, and that goes to show that they understand what 4 votes and 5 votes means, right? Like, you can't pick and choose when you govern. You follow the law, and we're going to continue to stand on business about that. But, yeah, I mean, I think there's just a lot of different ways, and that's why it was so critical that this was our moonshot moment, and I was only able to get $6 million out for infrastructure. You saw the $2 million for allied health. You saw the $5 million go to Project Resolve, $1.5 million Project Neptune and Blasco. Here in the next month, that project should be done. Wow. There's just a lot of different investments that are generational. And I was, even as a candidate, I said, look, it's got to be sustainable. It's got to be generational. It's got to be impactful. And those are the lenses that we looked at. Driving towards generational impact. If we're making decisions that don't do that, you're governing and you're governing wrong.
We could leave it there. The county executive, Brenton Davis, for his monthly meeting in September. It'll be schools back, and hopefully we won't have any issues with any outbreaks or that measles outbreak last year or earlier this year was something else. And so one more second, you got a lot of commercials on from the health department about drug and alcohol. Just in a minute here, just talk about the importance of that new program.
Yes, I mean, that's straight from DHS funding, so health department doesn't do that, but that's our drug and alcohol department. Those are opioid.
Okay, that's DHS.
That's opioid settlement funding. Yeah. So, I mean, that's part of that lawsuit, and really we created a regional recovery hub, and we're one of 5 in the state. Okay. And so, I mean, that was huge for resources here in Erie County, and just being able to direct folks. So as you hear that, if you or a loved one, need help battling addiction, you can call that 451-6877. I didn't need anything to write that down. I mean, I've said it so many times, but, looking for help. That Recover Erie website, and
you're working with the state on this?
This is local.
This is local,
so I mean, there's
but the state has there's
state oversight, but they provide funding. But our local drug and alcohol recovery work is it's programs that are oversaw and implemented right here in Erie County by local providers. I mean, there's always state oversight for any funding.
Sure.
But, we're utilizing those opioid settlement funds that are directed by, obviously, the state trust as they're approved. And so really part of those commercials are really just building the awareness that those resources are available. I mean, they're readily available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, no questions asked. Like, the time to get help is right now. So if you or a loved one are struggling with addiction, go call 451-6877. Reach out to our drug and alcohol office. We've got drug and alcohol counselors standing by to answer any calls that they have and connect folks to immediate services.
Appreciate it. Thank you again. County Executive Brenton Davis here on the Joel Natale Show.